Hi YouTube, so new project. I recently bought this BSA vintage bicycle. I'm not sure the model, but I think it's BSA, which is going to be a bit of a fixer-upper to do a bit of a wedding business where I'm going to hopefully hire these out from my partner's floristry business for groom and bride to kind of ride in, or kind of for a stand to show people where to have dinner or something similar. But it's a lovely bike, really nice to ride. I've given it a bit of a clean up already, so it doesn't look too bad. But I kind of want to take it apart and get it as good as it can be. No gears or anything, just needs a bit of paint. Literally no damage other than a little crack here. I think the biggest problem I'm going to have is the chroming, because I don't think you can get any home chrome kits. I don't really want to spend the money to go and send it off, which I might do, just to learn how to do it. I know you can get some chrome spray, so I could try that, but I don't want it to look like it's not a decent job. But yeah, it'd be quite fun taking it apart, just kind of giving it a clean up. It rides really well already. It's got a bit of a bent front wheel, but looks really good, rides really good. I actually prefer the bike without the cross frame. I think I'm probably going to keep it black. That's original. I'm not completely sold on that, but I probably will. So yeah, I'm going to take it apart anyway and just clean it up little by little. First things first, wheels off. That's going to be a 14. To get the wheel off, you have to take the brakes off. This kind of under rim brake system, which is not powerful at all, barely stops the bike. Whether that needs adjustment or that's just the way it's designed, but like I said, barely stops the bike. But these need to come off to take the wheel off. Over to the rear, which is a 16 this time, a bit bigger. It's this time up right underneath. So that's both wheels off. The next thing is going to be the mud guards, which is going to be a little nut in there, and then one just there. And that means I can take these off and give them a really good clean up. Some of these bits are really fiddly. There's like a little flathead screw there that comes through, but inevitably it's going to be rusted and fused, which to be fair, I didn't clean it off. Probably should have, but the metal's so soft I'll probably have to replace that. So I'm going to have to put some grips on it and then try and get it off that way. Well, that's worked. Obviously the nut and the screws completely gone now. I have to replace that, but that's managed to get that off. Last little screw to get that off. Right, there you go, that's got that off. I don't know why they've put like a flathead in there, so I'll just replace that with a new bolt, I think. But yeah, so that should be off now. So there you go. Which means I can clean that properly. And then the front one is going to be hopefully not be as bad. All very fiddly. This one, I can't even get a spanner on it. Doesn't seem to, it's so fiddly, it doesn't really get the right angle for it. So this is an 8. I can't get any purchase on it at all, so I might have to get some grips or something for that. I'm sure I've got something for it, but this isn't going to do it. My best chance of getting at that is to take these forks off, which has to come off anyway. So I've undone this. An adjustable spanner, this comes off. Got some bearings in there. Undoing this, I'm not quite sure how it pulls out. I'm assuming it's just going to basically, once you loosen everything, it's just going to pull out, hopefully. The stem's going to go down, but I've never actually used one of these. Worked on one of these old bikes before. You can see the bearings at the bottom there, so that should just pull out, I think. Okay, so I put the wheel back on because you can't, with these older bikes, you can't get off the stem and the handlebars without the wheel, because this is the nut that holds it in. There's like a little kind of angled cut off there with a little, I guess a wedge that it'll pull up to expand. That sits inside here, I think. Yeah, inside here. Obviously separate from the bearings. So basically, to get that out, I've undone this little nut up here, but I need to wiggle it out. so tend to put the wheel on, which you can hold fast as you kind of wiggle the handlebars. But before I do that, I'm going to have to take off these brakes. Sorry, these brakes, which I'll do now, which I think probably the best way to do it is going to be midway. Just trying to think of the best way to take this off. Let's go through. Probably there. Put that back on again. There you go. Right, so I'm going to try and wiggle this out. So it's slightly undone there. Be careful not to lose any bearings in there, they're all loose. So slightly tighten it up. Be a little bit careful for the bearings. Should be pretty tight. You know what I mean by you need the wheel on to be able to lever this out. These brakes will obviously pull out hopefully. I might just get a bit of spray in there. What I don't want to do is, you see, this could kind of pull out, lever out, but inside here, just loose bearings. Now, I imagine it's not too hard to get new ones, but ideally I don't want to lose any. So I'm just going to stay with it. I doubt this has ever been removed in the last 75 years, so luckily it's not kind of welded tight, so that will come out. I haven't taken this off, it should pull out. But I can't see any reason why I wouldn't. So a little tip there, it's quite hard to get out, but if you pull this nut out, it kind of gets caught on the wedge. And I gave it a hammer in, not too hard though. I didn't get it on camera, but give it a hammer in, and it kind of popped down, which means it's going to push the wedge in, which I'll show you shortly, in there. It's a lot looser now, so hopefully that should come out now. Pretty easy. Just get it set up. So that feels a lot looser than it did before. Being careful not to lose these bearings. So that is a lot looser. It's coming out. This just popped out, the brakes there. And there you go. And there you go. So obviously one thing I haven't done is taken this wire off here, which I'll take off now. There you go. So that is all removed now. So I'll show you the wedge in a second, how that looks. Which means I can either spray or chrome this now. It makes the frame a lot easier to paint. So that is all off. So inside here is going to be the wedge, which I told you about. quite common with older bikes, but I've not really worked on an old bike before. So I'm just trying to get it out. So this one's a bit different. I've just managed to get the thread, pull it out, and it is like a block. Now the way that works, it looks like, which I'll show you. So obviously it's kind of split at the bottom there, and when that pulls up, it just kind of widens it and creates tension. So the same principle as the wedge, but I haven't seen that before, so that's what you're dealing with. So I think what happens when I undid it, I had to pop this out. So you kind of hammer it, get it to the side, hammer it in, it pops out to the bottom, and then this comes out. So that is how that one works. So this is what I was hoping for, that now I've taken all the handlebars off, I can get to this and remove it safely. Now, it's not the end of the world, but ideally I'd like to use all the same nuts and bolts coming off. Clean them up and put them back on again. Now it's going to be really soft metal, so if I don't get the right tool on it, it's just going to warp. So I think it's worth taking the extra time. I need to take those handlebars off anyway, so yeah, so that's actually not as bad as I thought it would be. That is quite excessive for a mud guard. There you go. Right, so now when that comes off, I can clean that off. There you go. Off. The problem with a lot of this stuff, it's all going to be welded, well, rusted closed, isn't it? But it's all got to come off. This is the typical thing. I mean, that's just going to have, nothing's Phillips anymore. It's always going to be flathead, which is just going to bend and damage that, but it's got to come off. The beauty of this though is that I'm going to paint it, so you couldn't get this off without scratching the paint. So, there you go. Now to get this off, that's going to have to come undone, which if you look at that, I mean that's essentially welded, so I'm not going to force that. I'm going to take a bit of time, because like I said, I want to use as much as I can from the original bike. Might not be possible, so I'm just going to leave that for a bit. Part of my issue as well is putting everything back. I'm hoping this video is going to assist me putting everything back to where it needs to go. So obviously if I take these off the painting, they're just screwed on. But again, all got to come off. Now what I found with these is that they've always got muck in them, so if you just scrape it out, you want to get this flathead as deep as you can, because if it's not deep, it's just going to warp the end. So a few of these have been like this now, where you just get that bit of rust out. Just that extra millimetre makes all the difference in there. And then you want to take your time and use a hand tools. So that's deep as you can in there like that, and then once you get in there, slowly, it's not going to warp it, whereas before that was going to warp the end of it. So. Now I still haven't quite decided, like I'd like to give it a go at chroming. Well, I don't think you can do it at home. I think you probably can, but it's probably quite expensive and you need a lot of chemicals and batteries and acid and all that kind of stuff. So I'll either send it off, I'll try and do it myself, or I'm just going to get some chrome paint. Ideally I'd like to learn how to chrome. It's quite a good thing to know how to do. But we'll see. Right, so they're not too rusty, these ones, so they should just come straight off. But that's it. I'm hoping I can just kind of get a batch of stuff that I can send off for chroming. I'd love to give it a go myself, but I don't actually know the process. I just think it's a good thing to know how to do. And if this one goes well, I'm going to do another one. I'm going to get a crossbar one, a male one, so we can rent them out for weddings for grooms and brides to kind of ride in or do what they want with them. But they're quite simple bikes, and it's not like high gloss paint or specialist powder coating, anything like that. But they're really nice to ride. There you go. Right, so they're off. Now, the one thing haven't decided on yet is, am I going to take these forks off because of the bearing issue in there, which is not really an issue. I guess to learn how to do it. I mean, do you know what? I think I will. I think I need to learn how to do it. It's a bit of a cheat really, just to leave these forks on, spray it, cover these up. But if I'm going to do it a full refurb, I can put some new grease in there. I've already seen a video of how they do it. The ball bearings just sit in there in the grease. So as long as you're careful taking them out, putting them back in, it's actually not that complicated. So I think I will take that off. Right, so I'm going to get this light off now. Must be a better way to secure this. Actually, they didn't do this in the 1940s or 50s with zip ties, but I'll work that out later. Now I did wonder what colours to paint this. Do I keep it original as much as I can, or go for like a beige kind of colour? But I do like black, but I haven't quite decided yet. Obviously black's going to be easier. It's not going to show up as many inconsistencies in the metal, and that is original, so I probably will go for black, but I haven't ruled out additional colours yet. The thing about this bike, it wasn't too expensive. It's £55. Squash there. But it's got hardly any damage to it. It rides really well. It's got slight warping on the front wheel, slight crack on the rear mudguard, and that's it. I'll make sure all of this works. There we go. So again, clean it out. Oh, there we go. So I wasn't going to force this. If it was going to be, wasn't going to move, which is a bit tight, I'd let the WD-40 do its job. I mean, some of these are going to be so gone, probably best to replace them anyway. Yeah, these will be replaced, I think. Actually, I'll refurb the bracket, but the screws are gone, I think. Actually, they come loose, but they're not actually coming out. Okay. There you go. Off. So I'll probably replace those screws, but see what I can do with the bracket. Right, back to this. So I give it a bit of a knock. So this is actually just a cover plate. So I give it a bit of a knock up and down, and that is a cover plate that comes off like that. And then this is still, I think it's going to have to be knocked out because it won't go past this bottom foot. So that's going to be knocked out, which is, I'm not going to be too aggressive with it, but I'm assuming it's knocked out, but, well, actually no, it's going to be screwed in, isn't it? It's going to be screwed in that side, but that is easily going to warp. I mean, I need a bigger, so I'm not going to rush this. I'm going to clear that out and get a bigger screwdriver, and that's going to be knackered. So I'm just going to let that penetrate in for a day or so, because there's no way I'll be able to get a replacement for that, and that will definitely get damaged. So I will just let WD-40 do its job, get the correct tool, clear it out, get a big screwdriver, and that will unscrew there to come out, I think. I'm not even gonna give that a go. Hopefully banging it didn't cause too many problems. I'll get a wire wool on that as well, this end, a wire brush. If I just clear up a bit now. And the next part is going to remove the brakes. It's not too bad. Oh, stiff. Right, so it's a bit stiffer, this one. So there is a flathead that side, and then this side is a nut that is, where's it gone? There somewhere, sorry, bad camera. And this side is a nut, which closest I can get is a 9mm. So it's easier from the bolt side of things, and just use the screwdriver to hold that tight. There you go. Off. Oh, so even though those nuts have come out, it still needs to be undone. To loosen it. There you go. Right, now it's time for the pedals. Hopefully shouldn't cause too many problems. Now, I don't know if they're just going to slide off or it's a bit more tricky. Now again, this is the first time I've worked on an older bike. There's no split there, so I don't see what that was doing. It's not really compressing anything. Interesting. Yeah, so that's not going to slide off. I mean, that's not compressing anything, is it? There's no split there. So it must be going through something. So I can kind of see now why modern bikes are made the way they are, because everything here is just slightly different, slightly more awkward. It kind of makes sense that you have a split in there with a nut and it pull off. So I can kind of see why they've evolved the way they have. I'm not actually sure how to get that off. I'm sure it's not too hard, but unless there's an Allen key in there that undoes it, maybe. That could be what's happening there. Right, I'm going to come back to this because I've looked online, apparently this is a cotter pin or something. You need a specialist compression tool to pop it out. People have said that when they're new you can hammer them out, but I don't really fancy doing that, not really knowing what's going on the inside. You could damage the threads, damage the end of it. People have said that you can bang them out and you do have to replace the pin, but I don't really know what's going on the inside. It's not an Allen key, I don't think they existed back then. So I'm going to come back to that. Once I've done some research, because like I said, I like to reuse everything if I can. It's amazing how complicated they make everything. So, like I said, I can see why the bikes have evolved the way they have, because that should just be a split and two nuts sitting on an axle. But yeah, I'm going to do some research, come back to that for now. Just take the rest off. No rush. One little tip, because these nuts are so soft, if you put a spanner or something just on two sides, you're much more likely to round it off. But if you put a socket on it, because it grips on all sides, it doesn't cause the damage that you would do with a spanner. You can on this side. Because these are very soft. There you go. Hopefully the seat shouldn't cause me any trouble. What's interesting is that this rear chainstay can completely come off, so I might take that off for spraying or powder coating, whatever I decide to do. Should be loose. Get all that crap out. I'm not even sure what this is. There are some bolts I've just accepted I can't use again. I mean, this would have been a bit easier if I'd cleaned the threads, but I didn't. So. I think this is a good lesson that if you do want to keep the nut, definitely clean the threads. I mean, this might have gone anyway, but I think it's just got impacted at the end, which right, very good lesson there. Clean your threads, because I've just caused myself loads of trouble for no reason, just because I didn't clean the threads. So I'm not going to be able to use this nut again. I imagine it probably would have come off okay had I cleaned the threads. I was just being lazy and paid the price for it. So that's easy now. So what happens is that all the rust and the muck, if you don't clean it off, all impacts inside the nut and then ends up being so much friction you can't remove it. And with a flat-headed screw, you're going to warp, with that soft metal, you're going to warp that nut. I'm not too bothered about losing the nut, or the screw, sorry, but that was my fault.
Daddy, what are you doing?
Just taking this nut off.
Huh?
Just taking this nut off. There you go. So that was easy. Clean the threads. Clean the threads, people. Clean the threads. That was literally could not have. I would have had to hacksaw that off had I not cleaned the threads. But at least that's still okay. No, it's not too bad. But that wasn't damaged before, so that was my fault. Lesson for everyone there. Right, so now I need to work out how do I get these off without damaging anything. So I'm not going to take a hammer to it. I'm just going to do a bit of research and come back and let you know how you do that. And then after that, it's just about whether I take off the forks. Obviously there's some bearings in there. I think because obviously this is a learning piece, I probably will. I probably could get away with painting them as they are, but I think I'll take those off. Just going to have a look inside really. Turns out that does come off. So I still need to kind of take all this off and re-chrome it or something, but it comes off. Right, to remove this cotter pin, I have seen some people use a hammer, but I think you're very likely to damage the cotter pin, and it's obviously not the correct tool for the job. So I've gone and bought a ball socket separator, which I was going to use for my car anyway, so it's kind of got double function. You can get specialist ones for bikes, but I want this for my car anyway, and it should do the job. So obviously it's got a bit of a gap there to at least the cotter pin out, and should apply the appropriate force at the top, hopefully. So just going to get that set up. Obviously it's not meant for this, it's meant for ball joint separator, but it should do the same job. I couldn't actually find any specialist tools just for this one job because the bike is not in manufacture anymore. So right, that is that. Hopefully it won't slip off. Okay. Not quite sure how much force. Apparently you can use a hammer, but you're very likely to damage the cotter pin beyond repair. There you go. Oh, there you go. There you go. So that's broken the seal. That should be pushing out now. Wasn't too hard. There's a lot of force that goes through this. Obviously it's made for a car. Going to need a long socket though to push that through. So 2 secs. It's a bit slower now, but it's pushing it out. So that didn't feel like much force at all. But obviously this is designed for much bigger systems. But it means I can reuse this now. And what I don't want to do is, ideally I want to use everything again, but I imagine probably sourcing one of these is probably quite hard. So rather than rush it and take a hammer to it last week, it's just a slow project on my weekends. I So I'd get one of these, which has done the job. But it's getting it all the way out. I'm hoping it just pops out in a minute. It's getting a bit tighter. What I didn't do there was take off this little washer, which wasn't doing anything, but take that washer off. I mean, that should just drop through, but obviously it's been in there for 70 years or so, so we give it a bit more of a push, some WD-40 on it maybe, hopefully it'll just drop out. What I don't want to do is put a punch on it, because I don't want to damage it. So let's just see if it pops out. It's a bit easier now. There you go, so I think that washer was making a bit of a difference. Yeah, so remove the washer. That's as far as it can go there, but it is pretty simple now, so I think a little bit of a hammer will push it out. Just needs a bit of a tap there. Right, to knock this through, what I can find is an old extension for a bit, drill bit. Knock that through. There you go. So that's preserved, I can use that again. Second one now. And there you go. So you can see how that works now. So the pin goes in with a kind of cut-off. Pin goes in with a cut-off, goes in, then naturally that can't slide off without being removed. So obviously the hole accommodates the holes to the left-hand side, goes in, but because it's in that groove there, it can't come out. Just cotter pin. So same principle for this side. That's loose already. This time take off the washer, which did seem to make a difference. It is just a washer, but split that underneath. There you go. Set off. Too bad with the right tools. Right, next bit we've got to break this chain. So put it in there. going to save that pen in case it's a different size to modern chains. Okay. Now what I don't have is a tool to remove this. I think I know where I need to get. It's different from the modern ones as always. It's going to be like got a little hook in it there. So I'll just double check I haven't got one, but if not I'll just get a cheap one from Amazon and then remove that. Just going to go back in. Now so I'm going to take these forks off. What we've got to be careful of, there's no cassette to hold the bearings, so when I open that the bearings could just fly out. I'm going to try and retain the original ones. If they do come out, obviously I can hopefully replace them, but there's no cartridge, which you'll see in a second. Get it closer. They're just loose bearings. Same principle, but clean the threads. So as always, to make your job easier, clean the threads before you take it off. I haven't got a wire brush with me today, but hopefully this should do it. So I can kind of see him coming out already. Falling out as well. Right, to get this off, it needs a good old clean because it's getting impacted at the top. Right, so I'm having a bit of trouble getting this off, so I'm going to undo as much as I can, get the bearings out, and then I'll probably put a tool on it. But as you can see, it kind of does sit in a very loose cartridge in there, and these bearings can just fall out. So let's see if I can pick these out now somehow. Not sure how. And equally you can see how they sit in this kind of loose cartridge at the bottom as well, so again they can all fall out. So I'll probably try and get a pick or something and pick those out, and then ideally that thread should just come off and it'd be all nice and easy, but it's a bit tight at the top. See, I might be able to get this off with just my hand. It's pretty tight, but oh, it's almost there. Let's get some grips on it. Right, I've got some of these Nifex grips that should hopefully not damage it, and I think it's the power I need. That's easy with them. And there you go. So if you can get that off without too much pressure, you can probably just pull that cartridge out. Let's have a look at it there. So I'm sure if I've lost any bearings I can get some replacements, but most are in there. So if I can get that cartridge. go. So there's like a little loose cartridge there. It's not really that much different from today's version, apart from they have kind of plastic cartridges top and bottom. And there, and the bottom. It's the same thing. There you go. Right, so they are all off. So it's just the bottom bracket now, and then we're good to start thinking about painting the frame. So it's quite tough trying to find the right tool for this bottom bracket. I bought a couple of them which ended up being too small, so these here 44 to 48, which is a bit small. If you can see here, you see that comes off. Like that. And then on the other side we have this. So this is where the other tool comes in handy. So I've just cleaned this off. Obviously there's all gunk and stuff around there. There's not much of a lip on there, so you need to clear it all off as much as you can and then get something that fits perfectly over. Obviously the gunk's going to restrict it getting a bite. You can barely get it on there, and then it turns. I've loosened that already, but at first that was slipping off with one of the tools I had. I think I had something like this at first that was slipping off, but I think partly because you've really got to dig the grease out of there, because you get hardly any bite at all. But both will do the job. Quite like that one. Can't really go wrong with this one. So it fits perfectly. So this is actually a bit easier for turning actually. So in here there's probably going to be some bearings. So a bit careful of that. The loose bearings in there, bearings on the other side as well, which I'll show you in a second. That comes out. So in there you can see the bearings. And that's it. And then finally that pops out of there. That's it. So now it's going to be for spraying, or rub down and spraying.